Hello again, and welcome to Winning with the Wrangler at Dick Powell's Leadership Corner, brought to you by Earth, Wind, Fire, Water Training and Development, where our passion is building leaders of today and tomorrow. Leaders, I'm going to bring to you today something just a little bit different. I think we're going to look at something. This is called Helpers and Hinderers. Helpers and Hinderers. Now, that's pretty hard to say, but I'll tell you what, it's so important that you kind of understand where we're coming from here today. We have been going through a hiring and firing process with a major corporation. And what we found is as we do this, as we talk to people down through the line, we found that they're either a helper or they're a hinderer. And then that's really what we're looking at. So I'm going to ask you, do you know about your team members that surround you, the leader? Now, are they here to help or are they here to hinder? And that's a huge question when we start looking at it. You see, answering these two top questions could mean the difference between success and failure as a leader, as a company, as an organization, as a church, as a family. You see, we need to look at that. So a helper, let's look at what helper. Now, a helper does what needs to be done for the good of others around him, the company. And the helper has a sense of loyalty to this whole opportunity in the situation. Where on the other hand, the hinderer does what is good for their own self, with no thought to those around them, the company, the family. It's just, they're all about themselves and they have no loyalty to anyone or anything. I'm not so sure they even have loyalty to themselves. But the helper, you see something needs done and does it. Doesn't have to be asked, doesn't have to be coerced, doesn't have to be trained into it. And for the most part, doesn't have to be part of their job title or anything else. Just needs done, so it gets done. Where the hinderer only does exactly what's expected, exactly what they're told to do, and you'll hear from them all the time. Well, no one told me to do that. No one showed me how to do that. No one taught me how to do it. It's always going to be someone else's fault. So as you're working with them, it's something you want to listen to. Now, a helper is all about the mission. You know, when we look at different things, we always look at the vision, the future picture, but we're always asking what's your mission, your purpose, your calling. And in an organization, in a company, in a church, in a family, you kind of have to have that if you ever want to accomplish anything. Now, the hinderer, for them, it's all about the position or the title. Now, you've known these people. They'll do anything to get a title. They'll do anything to get a trophy. They'll do anything to get a badge. They'll do anything they can, but it's all about them. It's something they can add to their resume. It's something they can add to some conversation that they're going to be in, because it's always all about them. You see, when it's about the mission, it's about other people. It's about the organization. It's about the company. It's about the church. It's about the family. It's about the group of people that you care about. But a hinderer, that's not at all what's in their world. They can't even see that far. And quite frankly, that's what hurts. Now, let me tell you about another helper. This is one that I love, okay? Helpers that can be counted on to finish the task when it's given to them every time. You know, I've known some people who could finish a task now and then, and if they were coerced into it, paid extra, had overtime, you know, there was always some agreement that had to be made for them to achieve or finish the task. And there was always some kind of, you know, back and forth delegate. We're going to, no, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is you were asked to do something, you did it, and you completed it on time, every time, no questions asked. There was none of this going back and forth and bartering as to when it would get done, how much it would cost, and how much they were going to make. You see, again, it's all about them. Now, a hinderer, a hinderer talks big, but never finishes without help. And you know these kind of people. They come on strong. Oh, we can't do that. And so they get we to go out there and get something done, and it's you who gets it all done and finished up, and they stand back and watch and take the credit. You see, that's a hinderer. You know, people that talk big, I oftentimes think it's pretty funny. I started my big career out on the line crew, and you know the ones who talk big got shuttled off pretty quick because big mouths never made big actions. You see, and on a 10-man work crew, I'm gonna tell you what, they get weeded out pretty darn quick. They don't last very long. But I've noticed this even in churches. The big talkers are always talking about things that could be done, should be done, ought to be done, and we can do it. But when it actually comes down to getting the work done, it's that one or two people who are the helpers, and they can be counted on to finish the project every time on time, under budget. And, you know, it's just they're such a wonderful group of people to work with and around. Now, let me tell you about another helper. This helper loves what they do. They love what they do. They're happy and they're joy to be around. And you know those kind of people. As soon as they come through the door, they bring the sunshine with them. And they're just fun to be around. They're fun to work with. You get that? Work with. The hinderer on the other side, you've worked with these also. You've had them around you. They're the ones always looking for a new job, complaining and bickering, and they're never a joy to be around. Okay? They're always out there saying, boy, if I just could have this job. If I just had this amount of money, I could do this. If. And they're full of ifs. Now, if you've got somebody like that in your team and your crew, I'm going to tell you what, they're going to pull you down and pull you back. You see, a hinderer has the ability, it's unfortunate because people sometimes gravitate to that person. They actually have some qualities that make people want to listen to them. They might be just exceptional speakers. But if they're always looking for that next job, if they're always complaining about the job they have, they're not thankful at all for where they're at. Be cautious. Be cautious. Because they're hinderers, not helpers. Now, a helper that I oftentimes try to put on teams, and I try to make sure I find someone who has this quality. This helper takes and sees joy. They take joy in seeing and helping others succeed. You see, they take time to build relationships with people and find out what the other person's hopes and dreams and desires are. And then they just do their best to help them with that. They don't ask anything in return. They're not doing it to take and make any extra money. They just do it for the love of helping people help themselves get to where they want to go. And they find great inner joy by doing it. Now, on the other hand, the hinderer, they see everything as a win or a loss situation, with everything revolving around them. And if they're not in that win-loss, I'm going to tell you what, they're just lost. But everything they do has a win or lose on it. They're never in it to help someone else. It's always about them. And I'm going to tell you what, even if they're losing, they're going to tell you they're winning. That's a salesperson I'm very cautious of when I'm looking for sales or that type of person to bring on our corporation. You see, it becomes all about them and not the company, not the organization. Everything's a win or lose. For me, having them around is a lose. So they don't stay very long. We encourage them to go and find that next place. Sometimes I even actually help them. Now, a helper that I really also look for is a helper that has integrity. You see, for me, integrity is the key. Doing the right thing because the right thing to do every day. Not once in a while, not when it makes it feel good, but they do it every day just because they have integrity, but they love what they do. The Hinderer on the other side, it's all about the outside show. Eh, eh, the Hinderer only does what needs to be done when someone is looking. It amazes me that the number of people in our society today only work when somebody's watching. And as a person who owns a company, has owned companies, run large companies, that's not a person you want with you. And if that's what they've learned in their childhood, if that's what they've learned in their family thing, if they only need to work when someone's watching, I'm gonna tell you what, that's going to be something that's going to be hard to reiterate and retrain in a person because it becomes so second nature. You owe me. You owe me, whether I do it or not. A hinderer. Now, a helper that I also like to put on teams is the helper that makes the hard decisions and is willing to pay the price. You know that decision that you have to make, and it's not going to be popular. That decision you have to make, and you know it's going to make some ripples. But you make it anyhow because you know it's the right thing to do. The hinderer on the other side only makes easy decisions and never willing to pay the price. You see, if they make a wrong decision, I guarantee you someone else had made it. If they make a wrong decision, let me think about this a little bit. If they make a wrong decision, they're going to find someone else who either told them that what they should do. The blame is never going to stick with them. They're like Teflon pan. It's going to slide right off. Again, this is not the kind of person you want running your company. Just a crazy thing, isn't it? Now, a helper that I'd like to bring on, you'll notice that the helper people are the people I look for to bring on teams. They're people I look to bring on a corporation. They're people I look to bring on into our world. This helper, though, will always finish on top. They understand that hard work, dedication, enthusiasm, and loyalty are the way to live. And they get joy out of it. They have fun. And they're always at the top because they're working hard and they've dedicated. But they bring with them this enthusiasm for the opportunity. Not just for the job, but the enthusiasm to be around people, the other people on the team. And that enthusiasm just rubs off on everyone around them. And how great is that? But on the other side of the coin, the hinderer, hey, the hinderer wants it right now. It has the you owe me mindset and is never, ever completely happy. These folks really believe that they don't have to work to get anything. They really believe that they deserve to have everything given to them. You know, it's that poor little old me syndrome and the you owe me syndrome. There's some questions I could provide you if you're doing an interview within the guidelines of all those wonderful governmental guidelines of what you can't ask them. But there's some questions you can ask them to find out if they're into the you owe me and want it now syndrome. You see, as someone who has hired a lot of people in my time, built corporations from zero to multi-million-dollar corporations, who has worked with churches who only had a few people to several hundred people, to working with families that seem to be just falling apart and now are growing together. Helpers. Helpers are people that you can want to add to your team. But I'm going to also tell you that helpers are people you can grow. You can grow them within your culture of your corporation. You can grow them within your household. And if you grow them within your household, I'm going to tell you what, when they get out in the business world, they get out in the real world, they're going to be happier people. Now, the hinderers, the wannabes, I have to tell you that we normally do our best to help them find someplace else to reside, because they'll never quite fit in. As I go through these type things, again, I'm just gonna read the hinderers first, so you can kind of get of what a hinderer is, and then I'll read through what a helper is, and you're going to see these are the people you want to add to your group, to your team, and they're things that, as a parent, you want to try to make sure that you're not promoting. So, number one hinderer does what is good for their self with no thought to those around them or the company, and exhibits no loyalty. Hinderer, it's all about the position and title. Hinderer, talks big but never finishes without help. Hinderer, always looking for a new job, complaining and not a joy to be around. They're definitely not. Hinderer sees everything as a win-lose situation, with everything revolving around them. Hinderer, it's all about the outside show. Does only what needs to be done when someone is looking. Hinderer only makes easy decisions and will never pay the price. Hinderer wants it now, has the you owe me mindset, and is never, ever completely happy. And of course, we suggest or we encourage you to subtract them from your team. Now, team members that you want to put on your team, and these are kind of things you want to raise in your family, I'm going to tell you what, they will be happier. You will be happier. Everybody will be more willing to be around each other if we work on these helper characteristics. Helper does what needs to be done for the good of the others around him and the company, and is all about loyalty to the situation. Helper is all about the mission. In other words, they bought into the mission, and they're all about it. They make all their decisions through that looking glass. Helper can be counted on to finish the task every time, on time. Helper loves what they do, are happy, and a joy to be around. Helper takes joy in seeing and helping others succeed. I just love that one. Helper, integrity is the key here, doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do every day. Helper makes the hard decisions and is willing to pay the price. Helper will always finish on top. They understand that hard work, dedication, enthusiasm, and loyalty are the way to live. And helpers, those are the people we want to add. Those are the people we want to grow. And we can grow them. Even if they come on as a hinderer, you have the opportunity as a leader to help grow them into helpers. Now, some people are capable of doing that and some are not. And I understand that. I do think, though, it's our job to do our best, to try to change them or help them see the light, be better, from being a hinderer to a helper. I hope this has helped you a little bit. This has been a part of, golly, I'll tell you what, it's just a part of how things go. And it's also a part of how life really is structured. Now, I'm going to finish up today. I'm going to follow up this Hinderers and Helpers piece with a piece called CDI. In CDI, I have to tell you, it was really funny how it came about. My wife, Miss Robbins, said to me, she said, these are three things that if we could just do our best to teach people and let them know that the CDI is the way to go. I said, okay, you're going to have to explain it to me. And so we really fleshed this out. CDI, here's what it means. Communicate, delegate, initiate. Be the best you can be. Now, Sounds pretty easy, doesn't it? Let me take a look at it with you. She said communicate. The C stands for communicate. And communication is more than just saying something one time and expecting those around you to recognize, internalize, visualize, and be energized by what you are saying. Now, did you get that? You see, you can't just say it one time and expect all those things to happen that people are going to recognize and internalize and visualize and get energized by you saying it one time. It is said that people need to hear something 7 to 10 times to start to learn and understand the idea or process for themselves. All right? 7 to 10 times. And I'm going to tell you it's even more than that in a large organization. Communication normally starts with the nonverbal and then moves to the verbal. The eyes take over to relay and insert the thoughts to the brain. Then, if it is also written down by the learner, it is added to the sensory of touch, sight, and motion, further embedding the idea. Then this process must be repeated daily until it is a full part of what has always been in your mind. Therefore, when leaders express their vision once, have it written on the wall, and never spoken of again, the learners do not take the opportunity to process or even take an interest in the vision of the leader of the organization. And we see this all the time. We'll go into a church and they'll say, yes, we have a vision. It's on the wall and it's on our letterhead. And I said, well, how often do you tell people what that vision is from the pulpit or from the front of the church? Well, we don't do that. Oh, when do you do that? Well, it's on our newsletter. I says, it's on your newsletter. It's on the wall. That's good. When do you talk about it? When do you let people know how you're doing on it? When do you keep them informed? You see, the communication piece is such a bigger piece than what they had ever thought. They thought all they had to do is write it down one time. Everybody would suck it in and buy into it and live it. And in the real world, that's not how it works. So communication is something more than just writing it down, saying it one time, moving through the present, and it's not just there. Well, Miss Robbins said CDI. Remember, communicate, delegate, initiate. She said D stood for delegation, or delegate. She said delegate is a fine art of involving more participants in any endeavor. Leaders who are comfortable with the sharing and mentoring process have learned that the more individuals who are involved, the stronger the foundation. This is not learned overnight. It takes time to build relationships with those around you. It is the best of the best in the leadership model of mentor or coach to share responsibilities. Leaders, ladies and gentlemen, let me give you a little tip here. We as leaders sometimes get so wrapped up into things, we do things all ourselves, and we do not delegate. And when that happens, when we don't delegate, when we don't share this fine art of leadership, we send a non-verbal, an individual message to each and every person out there. You're not needed. You're not wanted. You're not smart enough. You're not fast enough. And by the way, why are you here? You see? And then we turn around and wonder, well, how come we don't have a bigger congregation? How come our company is dying? What's going on with our sales force? You see, we start asking those questions and it all reverts back to this delegation situation and sharing the leadership opportunities. I have to tell you that this one piece brings down more organizations, more companies, more churches, more families than anything else, this thing with delegation. Do I know it's a hard piece? Do I know it's something something all of us need to work on? I'm going to say yes, I do. But I also know that when we're intentional about it, it happens. All this thing, this whole thing, this CDI is an intentional movement for leaders to think about, to put into their life. Intentional communication, intentional delegation, and initiate. CDI. Communicate, delegate, initiate. Be the best you can. be. Initiate. Initiate is to begin, to get started. This is sometimes the hardest part of leadership, as it means to take a risk and get going. Procrastination sets in with the thought that all the I's must be dotted and the T's must be crossed before beginning. Overthinking and indecision can often stop all progress. When you have done the research, dealt with the obstacles and objections, made all the preparations, and set down a strategy, it is all for naught if you do not initiate the plan. Now, here at Earth, Wind, Fire, Water Training and Development, when we work with organizations and individuals, we oftentimes get everybody started on a vision, a future picture, what it actually is going to look like in the future. We talk about and get them to write down that vision and get it as explicit as we can. So as someone reads it, they know and understand exactly what it means, but also so that the leaders can tell people about it and tell it over and over and over and over until people really see the same vision. We encourage them to get down their mission. They're really their passion, but it's their calling. Why are you doing this? And it's got to be more than just make money, because that just doesn't add up. So we encourage people and corporations to write that down. So again, they can share it with others, and others can see it, hear it, and buy into it. But the biggest part that we see where it starts to fall down is this thing called strategy, or the plan. The plan, quite easily explained, is the day-to-day things, opportunities that you're going to do, the things that you need to be done every single day. And so that in order so you live the mission and achieve the vision. Now the plan, this things you're going to do every day, need to be on the calendar. They need to be shared with everybody in the organization. Who's doing what, when, where, how, who's accountable for it, when's the due date on it, what's the budget that's hooked to it. There's a lot of pieces and parts that go with it, but if it's not shared, if that information is not shared, what good is it? You see, when people have no clue of where they're at and where they're going, they're just stumbling around in the dark. So help them be the very best they can. Encourage them to be the very best they can. You see, CDI is what makes leaders make more leaders. And that is the first and foremost job of leaders like you and myself. It's what we're called to do is encourage and build more leaders. CDI, communicate, delegate, initiate. These are three of the most important things that any leader can learn and share. When a leader learns to communicate everything, and really to communicate with everyone at every level and have an open communication from all levels up and down the aisle so everyone can understand what's happening. When leaders can delegate and share their leadership opportunities so that everyone again has a part and a piece. And leaders, when we start to initiate these type of opportunities, our company will grow, our organization will grow, our church will grow, and our family will start coming together and grow. It's an amazing thing. Now, on behalf of myself, Dick Powell, and the whole Leadership Corner team, we want to say thank you for being a part of today's program. If you have any questions or comments on today's program, don't hesitate. Give us an email, dick@leadershipwrangler.com, dick@leadershipwrangler.com. Set your very own appointment with me at www.leadershipwrangler.com. Or you know what, if it's a burning question, you need it done right now, give me a call. 727-422-1833. 727-422-1833. And really, I'm serious. When your organization, your individuals, when you're ready to learn more about leadership and accountability, you would like to have the Leadership Wrangler come to your location, all you've got to do is go and set a time and date on the website, www.leadershipwrangler.com. And until next time, this is DW the Wrangler saying, ride hard, ride fast.